Woman in the Vedas. The Vedic age can be described correctly only in the language of the Vedas and its supporting literature, the various Brahmanas, Upanishads, etc. The following passages offer an insight into the position and rights of woman in the Vedic ages. Created as equal halves, the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad contains the following passage: Svadvitiyam aichat sahaitavanasayata stri pumangso samparishvakto saimam evatmanam dvetat patayat tatapatis chapatni chabhavatam tasmat idam Arda Brigalam Ivasva Iti Hasmaha Yagyavalkaha. He, the Supreme Lord, desired a partner, assuming a form as great as the form of a man and woman combined. He divided this great form of himself, and thus 2 equal parts fell, from which husband and wives respectively were produced. Therefore, Yagyavalka said that the both of us are like 2 equal halves of a shell. 2 equal halves of a shell. Equal rights to education and celibacy. Direct evidence supporting the equal right to education is found in the Atharva Veda as follows: Brahmacharye nakanya juvanam vindate patim. Through brahmacharya, a girl attains a suitable husband. So what is this brahmacharya? Sayana, the most prominent commentator on all the 4 Vedas, comments on the Atharva Veda section: Brahmacharya Brahmaveda tat atyayanartam acharyam. The word brahmacharyena means by all efforts employed to study the Vedas in order to know Brahman. The Srimad Bhagavatam speaks of 2 ladies attaining the complete Vedic knowledge. Tebyo dadara kanyedve vayunam darinim svada ubete brahmavadinyo jnana vijnana parage. Swada, who was offered to the Pitas, begot 2 daughters named Vayuna and Darini. Both of them were impersonalists and were expert in transcendental and Vedic knowledge. Some hymns reserved for them. There are many hymns in the Rig Veda that are reserved for recitation only by women. An example, Rig Veda speaks about a woman's qualification to speak on transcendental topics. Uda so surya agat, ut ayam mamako baga, aham tat vat valapatim abya shakshi vishashahi, aham ketur aham murdha ha mugra vivachani mamit anukratumpati shehanaya upacharyat. Let my good fortune rise with the rising sun. May I attain my husband, defeat my enemies, and may I always be very tolerant. May I be an excellent knower of the Vedas and a powerful speaker of the same. May my husband always be pleasing and behave tolerantly towards me. Transmitters of Vedic knowledge. In the Brihad Devata of Shaunaka Rishi, the names of no less than 26 women who have contributed hymns to the Vedas are listed. This means that they have composed, practiced, taught, and initiated others in these hymns, for only the creator of a hymn or those coming in the creator's disciplic succession can initiate others. Many of these hymns can still be found today in the Vedas. The list of the women are as follows. Goshagada Vishvavara Apalapa Nishat Brahmajaya Juhurnama Agastyasya Svashaditi Indrani Chandramatacha Sharama Romashorvasi Lopamudra Chanadyascha Yaminari Chasaswati Shri Laksha Sarpayagivak Shraddhameda Chadakshina Ratri Surya Chasavitri Brahmavatinye Irita Gosha Goda Vishvavara Apala Upanishad Nishat Brahmajaya, also known as Juhu, Aditi, the sister of Agastya, Indrani, the mother of Indra, Sharama, Romasa, Urvasi, Lupamudra, the river Yami, the river Nari, and the river Saswati, Shri Laksha, Sarparagi, Vak, Shraddha, Meda, Dakshina, Ratri, and Surya, also known as Savitri, are famous as knowers of Brahman and are the contributors of Vedic hymns. Om Tat Vishnu Pararam Paramam Param Sada Pashyanti Suryayo Viviva Shakshur Atatam. Eligible to receive the Gayatri and the sacred thread. The Yama Smriti specifies the right of women to study Vedas and receive the thread. Pura kalpa tunarinam maunji bandhanam ishyate adyapanam chavedanam savitri vachanam tata. Previously, women were initiated with Brahmin thread and would teach the Vedas and acquire knowledge of the Gayatri. Thus, there are quite a few places in the Vedas where women have been encouraged to teach and to perform all kinds of sacrifice, including initiation. Jaimini and Aitasayana. Jaimini is the renowned composer of the literature known as Purva Mimamsa Shastras. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, he is the professor of the Samaveda and the direct disciple of Vyasadeva. Jaimini's Purva Mimamsa Sutras have been referred to by many acharyas in their work. Srila Jiva Goswami in his Krishna Sandharma and Srila Baladev Vidyabhusana in his Govinda Bhasya. Both these acharyas quote Purva Mimamsa Sutras as a valid and acceptable authority. As Jaimini was compiling the Purva Mimamsa Sutras, he wished to tackle the case of equal rights for women in all sacrifice, including Diksha. He was very well aware of the school of a certain sage named Aitisayana, who had declared that all these sacrifices were only for the higher three classes and not for women and Sudras. Jaimini discussed this issue in the first chapter of the first part of the Purva Mimamsa Sutra. The famous Vedic commentator Shabara Swami commented on these sutras. We are reproducing here the entire section along with a commentary of Shabara Swami. The entire discussion revolves around the word Svargakama in the following aphorism in the Shruti. Jaimini in the Purva Mimamsa Sutras presents the view of the opposite party, Purva Paksha, first. The sage Aitisayana says that since the gender used in the aphorism is masculine, Swarga Karma, therefore only males are eligible. Commentary. The aphorism, one who desires heaven should perform the Darsha and Purva Masa sacrifices, is seen in the Vedas. In that there is a doubt. Is the aphorism recited keeping in mind only a male or both male and female? The sage Aitisayana says that only males are eligible. Why? It is because the masculine gender has been specified in the word Svargakama in the aphorism. The word refers to a man, and therefore only men are allowed and not women. Jaimini then gives his conclusion. Vyasa, however, says that both ladies and men belonging to the upper three classes are fit for all sacrifices, as there is no distinction of class between males and females in the word Svargakama. Translation of commentary. By the word tu in this sutra, the Purva Paksha is refuted. It is not that only males have the right. Those belonging to the upper three classes, whether man or woman, are bona fide, as said by Vyasadeva. A question is to be asked here. Is the word Svargakama to be considered as a word which defines a group or as a word which points to a single person? The other party says it cannot point to a group because the way in which it is grammatically formed points only to a single person, and that also a male. However, we, the Uttara Paksha, say the word Svargakama cannot refer only to a male. Why? Because of its non-speciality. The word cannot be restricted only to male species because it emphasizes eligibility over gender. The emphasis is on the fact that one who desires heaven should perform sacrifices. The rightful performance of the sacrifices are indicated by the word jayet. It is said that the word Svargakama is a masculine gender by rules of grammar. Then we, the Uttara Pakshas, say that it is not so, for assuming that only males are indicated will lead to the following problem. The purpose of the word Svargakama is to state that whoever so desires to go to heaven should perform the sacrifice. Since it is well observed fact that even women desire heaven, if the purpose of the original aphorism was to state that only man should perform the sacrifice, then the language would have to include specific words to state that it did not apply to women. Therefore, women are included in the three higher varnas that can perform sacrifices. This is the opinion of Vyasadeva. Thus, in the opinion of Vyasadeva, even women are eligible to perform all sacrifices. Later commentators also give the example that the statement Brahmano nahantavya, a Brahmana should never be killed, also includes a Brahmani. This shows that even though male species may be indicated in an aphorism, it often includes females. This is very common that in language you used to say male, indicating male and female. So this is the same thing, just happens a few thousand years ago when they were discussing this. But just you say, nowadays in our modern usage of language, there has been some complaint from the feminist side. They say, no, you have to specify man and woman, male and female, in order to not, like you say, all this, actually I'm with different grammar side maybe. Let's see, come up with an example. Anyhow, you understand that nowadays you're supposed to say, to be technically perfectly correct, say male and female when you talk about any issue which includes them. But previously, even in my young age, it was not like that. You just said the male form and it meant male and female. Thus, moreover, the original Shastra contains the name of a sacrifice, Purnamasa. Ladies who perform these sacrifices are rightfully known as Purnamasi. And Purnamasi is a name of Vrindavan, Yogamaya, Purnamasi. Srila Prabhupada often quoted the following selection from Manu Samhita. Nastri swatantriyam arhati. A woman should not be given independence. And also, pravritim eva bhutanam nivittis tamahafala. Everyone in material life is attracted to furthering the way of attachment. Pravritti marga, but the greatest treasure is to be gained by following the path of detachment, nivritti marga. However, Srila Prabhupada did not always support the conclusion of this literature. Yes, but we do not keep him Sudra. A devotee is no longer Sudra. We are creating Brahmanas, just like the Europeans and Americans. They, according to Manu Samhita, are Mlechas, Yavanas, but we are not keeping them Mlechas and Yavanas, just like these Europeans and Americans boys. They're accepting the Vedic regulative principles, no illicit sex, no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling. So they are no more Sudras or Chandalas, they are Brahmanas. So this is a very important thing, the transformation. So the transformation is available to everybody. And wherever this male chauvinistic conception that we can, they can't, we are, they aren't, enters, is not the transcendental vision at all. It's a mundane vision. According to Manu Samhita, you are all Mlechas and Yavanas. You cannot touch the Manu Samhita, what to speak of translating it. So if you try to follow the Manu Samhita, then you become a Mlecha and Yavana and your career is finished. Secretary letter to Madhusudan, I don't follow this very clearly.
This is what Prabhupada said to him. Wrote this Prabhupada words.
Contradictions. Manu Samhita says different things about women. Sometimes its trust is to speak highly of them. Prayanartha Mahabhaga Pujarha Griha Diptaya. Women are to be worshipped. They are extremely auspicious. They are the illuminator of home. Yatra nayashtu pujante ramanti tatra devataha. Yatraitastu na pujanta sarvas tatra palakriya. Women, wherever women are worshipped, the demigods resides, and wherever they are not worshipped, all activities end in failure. Give me some incense. Worshipping our wonderful Brahmanis, Vaishnavis, so that our sacrifice may not be a failure. Come on, sit down, Prabhu. Prabhu, sit down. While some other sections speak derogatorily, women are by nature adulterous, fickle-hearted, and devoid of all love. Women are to be considered as devoid of all sense, devoid of all mantras, and full of falsity. Sometimes we even find both kinds of statements in the same chapter, chapter 9. No statement is offered directly in Manu Sanghita that resolves this incongruity. Interpolations. Taking note of this and other points, various scholars have opined that the Manu Sanghita we see today has suffered from considerable interpolation. In the introduction to this earliest known commentary of the Manu Sanghita by Medatiti, we find the following verse written by the scribe of the commentary. Earlier, there was another Manu Sanghita with a suitable commentary by Medatiti. That is, however, lost. Now, due to the influence of Providence, is no longer available. The king named Madana, son of Saharana, procured some scattered portions from various places, and the remaining book was rewritten. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also speaks about Manu Sanghita's interpolation in his introduction of Krishna Sanghita. The Varna Ashrama system continued purely for a long time, until Jamadagni and his son Parashurama of Kshatriya nature claimed themselves as Brahmanas. By following a Varna contrary of their nature of one's self-interest, they created friction between the Brahmanas and the Kshatriya classes. Because of this seed of enmity between the two classes, the procedure of judging Varna by birth became fixed in time. The system of Varnas without reference to nature entered covertly in the Manu Sanghita and other scriptures. In other words, they were interpolations. Not only the British, which are very expert in putting interpolation, previously other motivated groups in the Kali Yuga already had interpolated the Vedas. So if you find this apparent contradiction in what the books are available today, then you can understand that there has been some influence. Now, these negative derogatory statements about women, they are very simple to understand because you also find derogatory commentaries about men. Starting with Kalau Sudra Sambhavan, then in Kali Yuga anyway, everybody is a Sudra. Leaves us all as equals anyway. If you go by this verse or by that verse. But to my understanding of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, there is derogatory comments about somebody that you can become humble. If you think about yourself and you think, oh, I could be like this, I could be like that, I could be lusty, well, factually I am lusty. I could be greedy, factually I am greedy. I could be envious, factually I am envious. Maybe not very lusty, very greedy or very envious, but even if you have a little bit of it, it's already too much. No? So, if you have a little of it, you can think, oh, how dangerous it is. I have this. It's in me, the tendency in me. I have an adulterous nature. I have the tendency of speaking lies. I have the tendency of posing myself as somebody who actually I am not. So all these type of things are there in the Vedas. You are like this, you are like this. And then you go, I am like this. My Lord, save me, save me, save me, save me. So if you think about yourself in the basis of the derogatory presentation, it helps you. You make advancement. You get your show together. You try to improve your situation, everything. But when you think about somebody else, you should think about the positive things the Vedas say. It's only for yourself, for your self-evaluation, that you may think about the negative things, but not for thinking others, no? I say, oh, Kalau Sudra Sambhava, oh, here's another Sudra. A big offense. He's not a Sudra. He's initiated Brahmin, sannyasi, worker for Krishna. This is Vaishnava. If you say Kala Sudra Sambhavana, apply it to like this, you're making a big mistake. But if you say, Kala Sudra Sambhavana, I'm a Sudra. Born a Sudra, I'm probably still a Sudra, mind of a Sudra, attached to Sudra activities. I am a lost case. My Lord, make me a Brahmin, save me, give me some chance. Good for you. Good for you to think like that, no? But if you do it the other way around, so this same system, you can apply to everything. You can apply to, when it says something about women, that means for them to be humble. When it says something about men, makes them. If it says something about mlechers born in Yavana countries, that's for them. But if you say, hey, this sannyasi, he was born in Turkey. He must be a Yavana. Come on, just Yavana. What Swami are you? Big offense. No? So in this way, what I'm talking about is not very Vedic. I'm just using common sense, plus some enlightening commentary of Srila Bhakti Aloka Paramadvaiti. But it's so common sense. Is as much common sense as Lord Jesus taking the bread and see, this is my meat, and then he's taking the grape juice and he says, this is my blood. And then people say, oh, he's inviting us to eat his meat and to drink his blood. A very strange interpretation. No? He says, I don't eat meat, I eat bread. So he says, this is my meat. And he takes the juice and says, this is my blood. I don't drink blood. I drink grape juice. So it's like a very common thing to say, no? You say, come and go with me to dance in the disco at Saturday night. I say, mice, I have a Mangal Arctic 5 o'clock in the morning fever. You can join me too there in Mangal Arctic morning. So in a sense, like we are putting something to showing another variety, something more likable, more beneficial, etc. So in other words, there is no justification ever to insult and to make others feel bad on the basis of something says in the scriptures. Scriptures are not for that purpose. I mean, to call a thief is not an offense, Prabhupada used to say. So if somebody did something wrong, then it's not right because he's a Brahmin or because he's a Vaishnava or because he's a woman or a man or a child. Only the children we give a little bit of a break, no? Because children are so stupid, you know? So if they break something, it's us who are stupid to leave it within the reach of the child, no? Child breaks a vase, you don't take him to the police, no? Say, look, this kid broke this vase, you know. The policeman says, are you nuts? It waste my time. Happened to one devotee. Just, he's a little silly. So, some neighbor kids stole a bicycle from his children. So he was like silly. Somebody stole. It was just one kid taking the bike from somebody else. No, he called the police. No, and the police said, "We arrest you for being stupid," and they took him for disturbing us. A kid stealing a bike from another, and you want to make it a police case? Are you crazy? You know. So in this way, sometimes we may go on this level of this childishness, you know. There's an explanation about lust, anger, greed, envy, and all that. And then I want to utilize that description in order to get on the case of somebody else. Very, very inappropriate, very, very immature. So basically, these are very Kanishta subjects. Very, very Kanishta subjects. And it's painful to see that supposed to be advanced devotees sometimes behave in a Kanishta way. But what can you do? A Kanishta can only behave as a Kanishta. So you cannot... Why does Kanishta behaves like a Kanishta? Well, so what? If he's a Kanishta, what else you expect him to act than a Kanishta? So, in this way, very humbly we may approach the whole topic of understanding each other and cooperating with each other. And my statement is that never ever a scriptural quote should be utilized to make anybody feel bad. Not the purpose. Not the purpose at all. If somebody does it, I've seen it with my own eyes, they bite the dust. You know what that is? Biting the dust. Instead of biting prashadam, they bite the dust. So it's not good. So it's a very, very good subject we are studying here today. Get over this stupid immaturity. Yeah, women, yes, the women know. The Westerners, yes, the Westerners know. Kanishta, Kanishta, Kanishta. That is what you are, I'm sorry. Because if you want to say that Krishna is not going to eat because a Westerner cooked or prepared and offered, and therefore Krishna is not going to eat it, Kanishta, Kanishta, Kanishta. Now, you may have a standard that in your temple you want to have only somebody doing puja or cooking for the devotees who has a very long-standing education of the highest principle of cleanliness. And that standard, it may be allowed, no? Just like we may have somebody touching the nuclear weapons in the what is a bad example, the stupid nuclear weapons, but like any weapon, you should not be able to touch a weapon unless you're very mature and you know what to do and you know the dangers, everything involved, no? I mean, as a matter of fact, imagine we are working with nuclear weapons for so many years, all around the world, so many countries involved, so many fanatic stupids and all involved, but not one nuclear weapon went off by capriciousness or accident, at least not to my knowledge. Those nuclear weapons which were detonated, they were planned, projected to do that, no? But not like, some guy got angry, says, okay, you got it, boom, and he throws a nuclear bomb somewhere. Has not happened. So in other words, we must at least admit they put some mature safety measures on this system that it doesn't happen, no? So, now Vedic knowledge is like a nuclear bomb too, If you say the wrong thing at the wrong time to the wrong person, it may create an explosion. It may create something like if a brahmana smashes a person innocently or inappropriately, well, he may disqualify himself. But actually the example I was giving is that at a certain time we may require certain qualifications. Like anybody can instruct anybody about Krishna. It's a birthright. And if you say the truth, it's the truth. But if we're going to have a Vaishnava college or like a Vaishnava seminar, we are looking for the most advanced speakers to speak at that time. We're looking for those who have credentials, experience, who are knowledgeable. But outside of that seminary, just in front of the same building, somebody on the streets instructs a drunk addict who lies there and says, you will never be happy by taking intoxication. You should chant the holy name. He is a Shiksha guru of that person. He is a Vardmana Pradakshaka guru or whatever he be, no? And he may be not qualified. He may not even be initiated. He just may have heard that and accepted this. So you understand, there's a great amount of ambiguity, variety, space available. And whoever thinks, I know it and you don't know it, ho, careful, careful, careful. There's a guy who is like wanting to create hierarchy. Of course, a hierarchy which benefits him. Hierarchy is always created by people who want to sit on top of the others. Except the hierarchy of love. And what's the hierarchy of love? Is that everybody wants to situate himself under everybody. That is a different hierarchy. The hierarchy of love, that is found in Goloka Vrindavan, that's found in the behavior of the pure devotees, that's found in Prabhupada standing in line with the hippies for the bathroom. Because he wanted to teach them what is truth. That's a hierarchy, the hierarchy of love. I can accept that one. But the hierarchies of those, I'm in charge, I know more, I'm learned, I'm this, and you're supposed to do what I say. This hierarchy is wrong. It's exploitative. So this topic, the topic comes from a certain type of false hierarchies. Like this whole thing of birthright by the interpretation of the Varna and Ashrama system to be based on some kind of birthright. This is just an interpolation of an exploitative hierarchy injected into some area and discrediting, it doesn't do anything good to the image of Vedic tradition. But of course, interpolation will never look good because it's meant to make the thing look bad, or it's meant to give the powers to those who are not deserving it. Either one. Two types of interpolation. One, claiming falsely superiority. Number two, discrediting and wanting to make another person look ridiculous. Never put in flame like this in front of a curtain. This is stupid. Flames can only be under personal care or extinguished. Front of a curtain. Fire is very dangerous. Take it out. So this is a very, very important point. Hey, take it out. So the interpolations which are there in the Vedas, they're absolutely motivated by someone, for some reason. And there are many. And since those books in those early days, there were maybe very few copies available, and somebody got a copy and they said, okay, this is a great book, this is a great image, but let's change a few things. Let's put a few other shlokas in there, which makes it look like there's in Brihadara, in some famous Brihadaranyaka. No, that's an Upanishad. I forgot that. Bhavishya Purana. Bhavishya Purana, it says that Muhammad is an incarnation and Jesus is an incarnation and things like that. No, interpolations, So, in this way, there's a certain ambiguity, and we have the right and duty to discuss that type of ambiguity. And according Chaturvanyang Mayashishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha, we follow Bhagavad Gita, that the divisions in society are created by quality and work. Period. Not by sex, not by birth. No. So if a woman is qualified Brahmana, she's a qualified Brahmana by guna and karma. That's all. And whoever wants to say something different, he's not in the line of Prabhupada. But here, we are now studying a little bit more detailed with more references and so about this whole subject. And here we find 25 women who have contributed hymns. So if they contributed hymns, and they obviously were qualified to chant hymns, and that's what it is. Yagya means you're chanting hymns. Not only they're qualified to chant hymns, they're qualified to compose hymns. They did compose hymns. And that makes such a wonderful thing. That's Vedic culture. Vedic culture is wonderful. Vedic culture is giving happiness and giving solutions and giving truth and not discriminating and no silly stuff. Yesterday, a very nice conversation, where we were analyzing the silliness of things we have done ourselves in our movement, or are done in our movement by people who are not take the essence, but just take the shallow form, the external. Let's see. Even if we were to believe that the Manu Sanghita that is found today is not an interpolated version of the original one would still be discouraged to accept it as its current authority by the following statement of the Parasari Smriti. Manu Sanghita is applicable in Satya Yuga, the Gautama Smriti is applicable in Treta Yuga, the Shankya Likita Smriti is applicable in Dwapara Yuga, and the Parasara Smriti is applicable in Kali Yuga. So, Manu Sanghita would be for Satya Yuga. Goodness. Anyhow, for us, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, there are the scriptures we follow. Got it? Compiled by Srila Prabhupada for the next 10,000 years. Plus a few other beautiful commentary from other people like Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Pramadvaiti Swami Maharaj and others. That is a simple reality here, which we believe in, and we follow that, practice it. But even then, we have the full freedom to question what seems to us not workable, not authoritative, because that is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in the Bhagavad. He says, everybody has the right and need to go personally to Badrik Ashram and knock at the door of the truth to find out to his heart's satisfaction what is emanating from there for the respective need of the day. So this is a very important point, We are here to work together for the welfare of everybody else. And whatever we do or whatever we find which does not come in, which doesn't help for the welfare of the others, that's really not acceptable. We want to reject that. In a similar point is made by Srila Madhvacharya in his work Mahabharata Taparya Nirnaya. Puranas which establish the supremacy of Vishnu and authority as they convey what is stated in Pancharatra, Smriti Shastras, like those of Manu and others, are also authority so far as they are consistent with these. There's furthermore discussions in all these scriptures. One of them has always been a position of Shiva and Vishnu, no? And there, this one Muni was actually put in charge. Let's find it out. Let's find out, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. Who is the real topmost one of them? What was his name? Bhrigu Muni. And you know the story of Bhrigu Muni, no? You know, Malati?
The story how he went to the tree.
Yes. How he insulted, he ignored Brahma, he insulted Shiva, and he kicked Vishnu, and how they respectively reacted to it. That's in the Vedas, and still there are people, they say Vishnu, that Shiva is higher than Vishnu. Well, they don't accept that part of the scripture, who knows what, or they just want to follow. Apparent contradiction in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Let's find out what this says. Hari Bhakti Vilas is the law book of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Evidence is found in the Hari Bhakti Vilas regarding ladies giving mantras. Before we consider that, there is a certain precaution which Srila Prabhupada gives us regarding Hari Bhakti Vilas. Actually, Gopal Bhatta Goswami collected only a summary of the elaborate description of Vaishnava regulative principles from the Hari Bhakti Vilas. It is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada's opinion, however, that to follow the Hari Bhakti Vilas strictly is to actually follow the Vaishnava rituals in perfect order. He claims that the Smarta Samaja, which is strictly followed by caste brahmanas, has influenced portions that Gopal Bhatta Goswami collected from the original Hari Bhakti Vilas. It is therefore very difficult to find out Vaishnava directions from the book of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. It is better to consult the commentary made by Sanatan Goswami himself for the Hari Bhakti Vilas under the name Dikdarshini Tika. Some say that some commentaries were compiled by Gopinath Puja Adhikari, who was engaged in the service of Sri Radharamanji and who happened to be one of the disciples of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Having seen this, let's examine the positive and negative evidence from Hari Bhakti Vilas regarding female Diksha Gurus. Positive evidence. In all matters of initiation in tantras and mantras, saintly ladies have all rights, and so do the Sudras and others who are dedicated to serving their spiritual masters. The word adhikara is to be noted in the original Sanskrit. Adhikaro means qualification. Through the paths shown in the Agamas, ladies and Sudras can also worship the deities. They should perform faithfully such worship, thinking about their respective lords in their hearts. Ladies too have all rights to conduct the worship of Lord Vishnu, and so do those girls who are unmarried and desire a suitable husband. This is a verdict of the eternal Shruti. Again, the word adhikara is to be noted in the original Sanskrit. In the Agastya Samhita indicating Sri Rama Mantra Raja, it is said, all have equal qualification for this mantra, whether they be a Sudra who is dedicated to his vows and eager to serve the Brahmanas, ladies who are dedicated to their husbands, or dog-eaters who are born of any type of marriage, pratiloma anuloma. One should not ritually purify a mantra obtained in a dream, a mantra given by a woman, a mala mantra, a mantra of over 20 syllables, or mantras of 1 or 3 syllables for Sita, and so on. The Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi, Brahmacharis, ladies and Sudras are all eligible to receive the Gopal mantra. The word adhikarina is again to be noted in original Sanskrit. All attain to the eternal spiritual world by worshipping the Shalagram Shila, whether a lady, a Sudra, Brahma, Kshatriya, etc. Negative evidence. A wise man should not disregard nor put faith in a woman. He should not become envious of them and should never give them any authority or rights. Resolving the contradiction. The compound word nadikuryat in the negative evidence directly contradicts the word adhikarina in the previous positive evidence. How to resolve the contradiction? The Laghu Bhagavatamrita says, an explanation of two apparently contradictory statements should leave no scope for ambiguity. Instead, an explanation which leaves no contradictions should be sought. So if somebody feels confused, hey, this sounds strange, let's resolve it. Let's find what is adhikarina means qualification. And then it says you should not give independence to somebody who will do harm to himself and to others. That's called the driver's license. Huh? You shouldn't give a driver's license to somebody who will cause harm in the traffic. So somebody must qualify to be a driver. He must know the rules and obey to them. And then he's getting a driver's license. So in the same way, if somebody is qualified, very obviously, he's getting all the certifications and qualifications to do something. He's not, then don't trust him. The Nadikuryat Kadachana statement in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, which speaks against women being given authority or rights, have been taken from the Vishnu Purana. A closer look at the current edition of the Vishnu Purana gives the original Sanskrit text of the statement in a different way that completely changes the meaning. In the Vishnu Purana edition published by two separate publishers, the same verse is found as follows. A wise man should never disregard nor put faith in a woman. He should not become envious of them and should never curse them. This is one. A simple change from Nadik Kuryat Kadachana to Nadik Kuryat Kadachana, changing na to na and ku to ku, makes a word of difference in the way the verse is understood. Some may be inclined to think that the version Nadik Kuryat Kadachana might be a recent interpolation of the Vishnu Purana. However, in the commentary of Srila Sridhar Swami, written sometimes between 1350 and 1450, in the verse on the Vishnu Purana, the alternate reading is recognized. In this way, all the statements of Hari Bhakti Vilas are reconciled. Just by commentary of Sridhar Swami. Yeah, what a difference. Should never give them any authority or rights, or should never curse them. What a major difference of understanding. No? So if somebody is qualified to have authority, then he can surely execute it. Hari Bhakti Vilas on restrictions of women and sudras. While presenting codes of behavior, Hari Bhakti Vilas distinguishes between ladies who are Vaishnavas and those who are not. Therefore, wherever restrictive statements are to be found in the scriptures regarding sudras or women, those statements are understood by the learned souls as applicable to non-Vaishnavas only. Wow! Can you imagine how much offense is involved if you apply a restriction given to a non-qualified person and you apply it to a qualified person? It's a big offense, no? It's like somebody says, those who are not educated should not become teachers in university. It's kind of a reasonable statement. How can somebody be a teacher in university if he doesn't have any education, no? But then somebody who is educated, then to say, you should not teach in university because I consider you to be non-educated. If you consider non-educated an educated person, it's a good sign of that you are very non-educated in your behavior. In other words, hey, who is to say? Like in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, we are very, 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 very careful to say about the adhikar of anyone. Why? Because it takes one to know one. if you make a qualifying statement about anything or anybody, you are assuming the position that you are. You are beyond that. If you say, I'm the most fallen of the fallen, I'm the lower than Yagai, Madai, and then you say, okay, Prabhu, don't exaggerate. No, Purishira Kita heute Muni. Say, Lagishta, I am lower than the worm in the stool. Yeah, Prabhu, yeah, poor guy. You're lower than the worm in the stool. So you become if you say this, then you're becoming a non-offensive person. But if you say, I think this guy is a speculator. I think he has Brahman realization. I think he's listening to the Paramatma. I think she is very rasic. Well, if I say that, means I am saying I am rasic because I can recognize a rasic. I know who's Paramatma because I'm qualifying you as somebody listening to Paramatma. I am thinking I know Brahman because I am saying he is realizing or trying to realize Brahman. Like anytime you make a statement of this type, which is like he is not, this is assuming a judging position. And only one who has that position of judge can take the judging position. And this position is not really given to anybody in our spiritual lineage, because we are rather the opposite. We want to always promote, encourage, push up, not put down. In the material world, everybody wants to push down the other, so that by the strength of this movement of pushing you down, I push myself up. This is the nature of the material world. He is not so good. Wait till you hear my class. This machine doesn't work. Wait till you see how my machine works. Anytime when you put down something or someone and want to push yourself up, anytime this is, you want to, at the cost of somebody else, you're making some self-promotion. That is offensive. Very offensive. As you can see, this discussion is very interesting today, because it's not only men and women, it's white and black, Indians, non-Indians, Sudras, Brahmanas, even in India. Even in India, amongst the Indians, the smarter Brahmana interpolations have created havoc. For whatever that may be so, Kali Yuga testing us, Lord Chaitanya is so kind. He makes all of us, he gives all of us a chance to participate and to be happy and to preach. Like my female disciples, I'm actually begging them, please preach. Don't be so shy. Don't say, oh, we are female. We are so humble and chaste. So therefore we prefer not to say a word. I say, no, please. You do this. You preach, just like Prabhupada asked many of his disciples, female disciples, to give classes, to speak. While he was sitting there, he asked Himavati in India. He wanted to let the Indian people see how qualified his girls were to give them a real good lesson. Like sometimes I asked Kumari to talk in South America. She's one genius speaker. Now we had some discussion, and Rameshwari, she was talking in India in Kumbh Mela, and she has such a clear message lineage, no? Yeah, of course, we need those authoritative women, authoritative Vaishnavis. It's even offensive to consider a Vaishnavi a woman. She ain't a woman, she is a Vaishnavi. This is the same thing. Like sometimes we fall into this male-female duality and they say, yeah, the Matajis, no? The women. Wait a second, that's already offensive. They are the Vaishnavis. They're not the women in the temple. They're the Vaishnavis in the temple. And you will find many times in this lifetime that people forget these lofty, high concepts. But Hari Bhakti Vilas didn't forget them. That's the main point. Hari Bhakti Vilas is the authoritative scripture. And the pure devotees, they don't behave in a discriminative way against women. On the contrary, they are promoting them. And they have to be promoted. Because whether male or female, we have to be promoted. How many male disciples I have? They are so, how to put it, shy and not inclined to go to the front and take responsibility and to give the class. They're not inclined to do that. Oh no, we stay back. We don't go to the meeting. It's too complicated. Like that. And I have to come here, Prabhu. Now you go to the front and you do the job. No, Gurudev, please, you do that. Because somebody has to take responsibility. If you listen to everybody's laziness, hey, wait a second, nobody's going to clean, nobody's going to cook, nobody's going to do anything, because they're all so humble. They say, I'm unqualified. I'm unqualified to cook, I'm unqualified to give a class, and I'm unqualified to play the Mridanga. No, I cannot play the Mridanga, because I'm going to make a mistake. When I was sent to Brazil, I had to give classes after a few months with my horrible Portuguese. I don't know what, but I had to speak. I didn't have anybody. I couldn't wait for somebody else. So I just blurred it out. And gradually I learned it a little better. So sometimes it's like this in life, you know. You have to just give up your pride and just make your humble mistakes and improve in this way. That way you learn a language pretty fast. So, for example, the Lord says, I'm to be worshipped only by the Brahmanas, whether they are clean or unclean. The touch of the hands of a woman or a Sudra is worse than a thunderbolt to me. If a Sudra utters the pranava om, worships the Shalagram Shila or cohabits with a Brahmana lady, then such a Sudra will attain the more degraded status of a dog eater. Srila Sanatana Goswami explains the mood of this verse in his detailed purport as follows. That's a long purport. My goodness. A whole page of Sanskrit. Let's hear that one. Translation. These two verses are spoken by Sri Narada Muni. It should be noted that Vaishnavas born in Sudra families have the right of worshipping the Shalagram Shilas. Sudras and ladies who are not Vaishnavas are bared. Vaishnavas born in Sudra families have the right as specified in the Vaya Purana as follows. In other words, first line is just cut it. Cut it. All discrimination against Vaishnava is prohibited. The Sudras should donate to the renunciates, work for the agriculture and mercantile activities, listen to the Puranas regularly, and worship the Shalagram Shilas. Seeing the difference that the original verse has from the Vayumaha Purana and other Puranas contain certain envious smarta Brahmanas consider these Puranic statements to be interpolation. It is to be known that a non-Vaishnava Sudra of a woman, even if fully knowledgeable in the ritual, is not to perform any deity worship. However, they are all provisions for a lady or Sudra who's properly initiated in the Vaishnava line. Those who are Vaishnavas amongst people born in Sudra or outcast families are not to be considered as Sudras. That is given in the Naradiya Purana as follows. In other words, here we have a very interesting thing. The Vedas love extremes. So therefore they say, if Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Sudra Kenanaya say Krishna Tattvavit say Gurahai, that if somebody is born in a Brahmin family, high family, but he doesn't know the science of Krishna, he is disqualified. On the other side, somebody who's from a dog-eater family, if he knows the science of Krishna, he can become a guru. So it's always the same. I mean, this extreme and that extreme. Now, it's opposite. If he was not, back to that. If he is, up to here. That's what these shlokas say. And there's many shlokas of that extreme definition. So, extremes are good for making points. If extremes are applied in discrimination, they become extreme offenses. Right? If I make an extreme analogy to uplift somebody, I am doing something teaching. If I'm making or using a similar extreme example to pull somebody down unjustly, I'm making a very big offense. And smarter Brahmanas, they do this mistake. They say nobody can become qualified unless he's born. I mean, it's deep in the blood. The caste system is deep in the blood of arrogance in this world. I've seen that because I just come from Kumbh Mela, and by my friend Chidananda Saraswati Muniji, he took me everywhere. He took me and set me there on the same tables, on the same levels with all the Shankaracharyas and with all of them, and they go like, they look at you. Just like I'm exaggerating a teeny little bit, no? Huh? It's a hard thing for them to swallow. Huh? That is, somebody sitting on the same dice with them, but not everyone. There's others that come and hug you. Not many. Not many are open. They have this adhikar. They know. Friendly. Once I went to South India, to the Acharya Sabha, something like the parliament of the Indian Acharyas. And I was invited as an observer because I have disciples and so, and I had some connections, so I was invited there. But not as a speaker. I was specifically invited as an observer. So, I went there, and there were like 70 Acharya, all the big Shankaracharyas, they were all there. Then was the time of the food came. The thing lasted for 3 days, no? So, well, they were saying, okay, all the acharyas were going to eat somewhere else. So went there and sat down. And then some Paramatma, one sannyasi came up to me. He was Paramatma. Saraswati or something. And he was like the secretary of the thing. And he told me, you're not supposed to eat here. And I was already sitting and the plate was already served. Then he said, okay, today you eat here, but tomorrow you go to the scheduled class. Scheduled, it's a special word. I don't know, in English you don't use it. A scheduled class. That means like no definition of caste. The scheduled class. So I had the feeling, I experienced it in my own, no? I was invited, I was there with the acharyas, but at the time of eating, sorry, And so this is deep inside the blood, no? And, And then the question of reading all this and qualifying all this. Are you qualified or are you not qualified? Are you qualified or not qualified? And before we answer this question, we first discriminate against you. Right? So, in order to make it easy, we keep it that way. You down there and I'm up here. Even though Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and the whole concept of Mahaprabhu, totally different. And that's also why other people like Kavir and others who didn't apply discrimination in their attitudes, they became more famous and more elevated in India. Those so-called alternative sages, who opened the arms to everybody, like the Gayatri Parivar, for example. No, Gayatri Parivar gained incredible notoriety, fame in India by just giving Gayatri mantra to everybody. Say, no, now we are all one. Take it and chant it. But our criteria, according to Hari Bhakti Vilas, is that you have to become a Vaishnava. If you're not a Vaishnava, it's not recommendable. Why should you want to manage, in a form of imitation, the sacred items of Vaishnavism if at heart you're not a Vaishnava at all? You don't care for it, no? Why should you get a shalagram just to decorate your bookshelf while you're taking your drink of alcohol? Can you imagine that? People drinking alcohol and then wanting to touch the shalagram? Or something like that. So, we understand that Vaishnavi or Vaishnava is very elevated. It lifts you beyond Sudra, Chandala, all these are left behind. Even Brahmana is left behind if you're really Vaishnava at heart. So the Vedas are beautiful, aren't they? They give all the chance for everybody to have full rights and to be part of this beautiful family. And take responsibility all the way to becoming a spiritual master. Period. If that's the time, if that's the need, I'd be 1 million times more happily initiated by a Vaishnavi lady than to be initiated by a great scholar of Sanskrit who at heart has no appreciation for Gauranga and Nityananda. That's my personal conclusion. And when this Vaishnava lady, Vaishnavi, if she is full of love for Prabhupada, then she will give Prabhupada love and Gaurnitai love to me. Whereas somebody who has no Gaurnitai love, even though he may be who knows what distinguished personality in the world of traditions, names and fames, he will not give me even a drop of appreciation for Nityananda and Gauranga. I hope you get this point and you apply it in your life to the way you behave when you want to understand, what is this? Is this a German? Is this a Latin? Is this a black man? Is this a white man? Is this a male or is it a female? Is it a Brahmin or not Brahmin? All these discriminative elements are kanishta. They're the hangovers, the leftovers of a big identification with the body. We've been talking with Swami Maharaj these days a little bit about this in the sense of the devotees from Orissa. The devotees of the Risa have the most beautiful qualification. They're so sweet, comforting, so loving. You really feel joyful around them. And then you find out that some people in Bengal look down upon the devotees of Orissa. But some people, obviously, who are not advanced. Kanishtas. And Uttamadhikari could never look down upon a devotee from Orissa or a devotee from Germany or from anywhere. But don't be surprised when you find in life this kind of immaturities. Don't be surprised. And those who still have that, then you can understand, yes, well, they have to learn a lot still. But you don't become disheartened, because that would not make any sense. A king, a Vaishnava from a dog-eating family is greater than a twice-born Brahmana. Also the Itihasa Samuchaya says, I mean, that's Sanatana Goswami here, no? We're not talking about any contemporary commentator. This is directly the commentary of Sanatana Goswami. The devotees of the Lord are not Sudras, Aborigines, or dog-eaters. One who sees them with such an ordinary caste-impelled vision certainly goes to hell. Well, this is the same thing I just tried to say in so many eloquent words with examples. In one sentence, Sanatana Goswami says, the devotees of the Lord are not Sudras, Aborigines, or dog-eaters. One who sees them with such an ordinary caste-impelled vision certainly goes to hell. Wow. That's a heavy statement. I love it. And the Padma Purana says, those who are devotees of the Lord are never Sudras. In fact, they are known as Bhagavatas. Those who are not Vaishnavas in all the four castes are to be known as the actual Sudras. Similar glorification of Vaishnavas has been elaborately described previously in his book Hari Bhakti Vilas. It is proved herein that by Vaishnava initiation, Sudras, etc., also attain the level of a Brahmana. The verse, Yata Kanchanatam Jati Kamsyam Rasa Vidanata, just as bell metal mixes chemically to produce gold, all men attained the status of a Brahmana by the process of initiation. This was already written previously in the section describing the importance of initiation. Thus, the following statement of Bhagavatam is justified. To say nothing of the spiritual advancement of persons who see the Supreme Person face to face, even a person born in the family of dog-eaters immediately becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if he utters once the holy name of the Supreme Personality of God, or chants about him, hears about his pastimes, offers him obeisances, or even remembers him. The word Savanayu Kalpate here means that such a person becomes eligible for Vedic yagyas. Therefore, the Vaishnavas are counted on the same level as the Brahmanas. Furthermore, in the Hari Bhakti Sudodaya, the Lord says, holy places, banyan trees, cows, Brahmanas, and myself. These five forms are present in the body of my devotee. If you offend the Vaishnavi, you're offending the holy places, the banyan tree, the cows, the Brahmanas, and the Lord himself. Jai. Beautiful, beautiful. This is the real thing. Love and respect for all. Also in the Srimad Bhagavatam it said regarding Maharaj Prithu. Maharaj Prithu was an unrivaled king and possessed the scepter for ruling all the 7 islands on the surface of the globe. No one could disobey his irrevocable orders but the saintly person, the Brahmanas, and the descendants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here the word Achyuta Gotra indicates Vaishnavas who are on the same level of those sages who originated the other Brahmana Gotras. Let me see this. No one could disobey his irrevocable, but the same. and the descendants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is Achyuta Gotra. So actually in India sometimes they ask you, what Gotra you belong to? And usually high-class people in India, they have some Gotra, some answer, Agastya Gotra, or Gautama Gotra, and so. And Srila Prabhupada and Srila Maharaj said, all of us, we are Achyuta Gotra. We belong to this sacred family, and this is highly respected. The Brahmanas, and also Maharaj Prithu himself says in the Bhagavatam, the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are personally glorified by their characteristic powers of tolerance, penance, knowledge and education. By dint of all these spiritual assets, Vaishnavas are more powerful than royalty. It is therefore advised that the princely order not exhibit its material prowess before these two communities and should avoid offending them. Very, very interesting. That's why the government should not restrict the Brahmins. They should help the Brahmins to do the Brahminic work. But today the governments, they a bunch of Sudras, thieves, and they don't want the Brahmins to act. This is so nice, huh? Here Srila Sridhar Swami comments, great material opulence in the royalty exhibited by those who belong to royal families should not be shown in front of those who are born in Brahmana lineages or the Vaishnavas, the worshippers of Lord Ajita. Even a slight show should not be made. Why so? For these personalities are effulgent even without great jewels and opulences, simply on the strength of their tolerance and austerities. Similarly, King Puranjana says in Srimad Bhagavatam. I mean, Sanatana Goswami gets into it, no? Now let's have it. Let's have it from all sides and make it clear, once and for all. O hero's wife, kindly tell me if someone has offended you. I am prepared to give such a person punishment as long as he does not belong to the Brahmana caste. But for the servants of Muraripu Krishna, I accuse no one within or beyond these three worlds. No one can freely move after offending you, for I am prepared to punish him. Except the Brahmanas and the devotees of Krishna, he would not punish. So this is like again an extreme statement, no? It's not that they can do wrong things. It's a thing that they are so elevated that even the king says, those I would not punish. So this is it's like the Vedas, they utilize all these kind of extreme statements for making their points. Here too, Sridhar Swami translates the verse in the commentary as follows, O hero's wife, I shall punish whoever has offended you, except if he be a Brahmana or a servant of Lord Krishna. Similar statements are to be found in plenty in Srimad Bhagavatam. By this, the similarity of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas is proved. However, by the verse 7, 9, 10 of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is indicated that the Vaishnavas born in caste lower than the Brahmanas are even greater than them. Having said this, Lord Hayagriva also says in the Hayashirsha Pancharatra Purushottama Pratishta section as follows. The worshippers of the deity should be given half of the donation. The Vaishnavas should be given half of that, and the Brahmanas should be given half of what the Vaishnavas have been given. Therefore, all devotees are certainly worshipable. Furthermore, in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, in the narration of King Priyavrata, we find the hunter named Dharma also worshipped the Shalagram Shila. The verse is as follows. And hearing their words with great amazement, Dharma the hunter stood still and saw both his guru. Both of them were aged, dressed in fine garments, and seated on an elevated seat. In front of them, Dharma the hunter carefully worshipped the Shalagram Shila. Now a description of practical conduct amongst Vaishnava. Amongst the Vaishnavas in the central and especially in the northern part of India, it is seen that all Vaishnavas have the right to recite the Bhagavatam and other literature. No restrictions are seen on the devotees of the Lord, since all of them are viewed under the privilege of the Devarshi Bhutatmani Nang Pitinam verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. However, they are considered to be at fault for giving up their ordinary duties according to Tava Karmani Kurvanti verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and also according to the Yada Yasyanu Grinati Bhagavan verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. There are a number of other Smritis that differ from Manu Smriti regarding women and their rights. A few examples. In the Vashista Smriti, if a lady thinks ill of her husband in her mind, then she should keep barley grain for 3 nights in water and offer them along with flowers in sacrifice while chanting Gayatri for 108 times. Thus she becomes purified. Srila Madhvacharya quotes in Vyoma Sanghita, elevated ladies are definitely entitled to the Vedas, just like Urvasi, Yami, Sachi, 2 types of ladies. The Harita Smriti, which is much older and broader in its outlook than the current edition of Manu Smriti, speaks about 2 types of women as follows. There are 2 types of ladies, the Brahmavadini, who doesn't desire to marry, and the Satyavada, who wishes to marry. For the Brahmavadini, there is provision for receiving the sacred thread, conducting the fire sacrifice, studying the Vedas, and begging alms at her own home. The Satyavadu at the time of marriage should only be invested with the sacred thread and then married. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes a similar point about different types of ladies. Women who are pure devotees can also become traveling salesmen for distributing the holy name, but they cannot give the holy name to men. According to time, place, and circumstance, and with great care and caution, mature women can distribute the holy name to men. In one sentence, Apart from elderly woman or very young girl, man preachers should avoid discussion with women. Women are allowed to enter only the Grihastha ashram and in special cases the Vanaprastha ashram. Also some women being exceptionally qualified by achieving high education, expertise and understanding scriptures and the power of abstinence may take to the brahmachari or sannyasi ashram and obtain all success. It is not the normal rule, as women are usually of weaker body, face, and discriminating powers. So according to Chaitanya Shikshamrita, elevated is elevated. Who is elevated is elevated. This is the whole thing. We cannot generalize, and we have to apply our spiritual teachers' beautiful distinctions. There is sometimes an idea that women are on an equal level with Sudras or even lower than them. Harita too, in the same Smriti, rejects the idea by giving solid argument as follows. Ladies are not the same as Sudras. Why? Because it is not possible. Because it's not possible that Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishnavas will be born from the womb of a parent who is Sudra. Therefore one must educate and initiate ladies in all sacrifice, or else they'll become Sudras and there'll be fear of everyone degrading into Sudra. Another example of women in the Vedic age. And cheerful Kaushalya, who was dressed in fine silk and was dedicated to her vows, offered a fire sacrifice by uttering mantras to make everything very auspicious. This is from the Ramayana. 2 more pages of evidences. The path propagated by the smarter Brahmanas was a restrictive one as far as education for ladies and Sudras was concerned. Examples of this could be found in many places. However, all samskaras for ladies are to be done without any mantras, something Manu Samhita. Do not give Brahmana initiation to women or Sudras. However, the path of the Tantras and Agamas was open to women and Sudras. The endorsement of this path by Sri Chaitanya and his associates is evidence from the stark contrast that the following statement shows in its attitude towards the Sudras. Whether one is a Brahmana or Sannyasi or Sudra, regardless of what he is, he can become a spiritual master if he knows the science of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada makes it evident in his purport on the verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita that the term Guru can be applied equally to Vartmana Pradaksha, Diksha and Shiksha Gurus. The Tantras are bona fide way of worshipping the Lord. Some Vaishnavas cringe upon hearing the word Tantra, associating the term with ritualistic drinking of alcohol and performing of ritualistic sex. In Srimad Bhagavatam, however, Krishna clarifies the situation. One should carefully worship me by selecting one of the 3 methods by which I receive sacrifice, Vedic, Tantric or mixed. Srimad Bhagavatam says, My dear king, in Dwapara Yuga, men who desired to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the supreme enjoyer, worship him in the mood of honoring a great king, following the prescriptions of both the Vedas and Tantras. O king, in this way, people in Dwapara Yuga glorified the Lord of the universe. In Kali Yuga also people worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead by following various regulations of the Tantras, the revealed scriptures. Srila Maharaj says in a commentary on this verse, by the word Nana Tantra Vidanena in this verse, the predominance of the path of Tantras of the Vedic path is shown in Kali Yuga. It is therefore not surprising that in the Hari Bhakti Vilas there are many tantric scriptures are quoted. List as follows: Vishnu Yamala Tantra, Narada Tantra, Ruda Yamala Tantra, Gautamiya Tantra, Trailokya, Samohana Tantra, Sanat Kumara Tantra, Bhagavata Tantra. The Tantras allow female gurus. The Rudra Yamala Tantra says, in regard to female gurus, a saintly and righteous lady who is dedicated to a guru and knower of all the mantras, all knowledgeable, and who is constantly engaged in worship of the Lord, is eligible to become guru except for Vidava, a lady whose husband has passed away. From this verse, it seems that the preferred candidates for women gurus are those who are duly married. However, the same book says that even the Vidavas are allowed if the mantra is a transcendental mantra and not a material one. If the mantra is Siddha mantra or a transcendental mantra, it can be accepted from a Vidava. That was it. So you see, so many little rules and regulations, so many social concerns, but the final conclusion is one and only and clear. You can rewrite a little bit that it looks like an ISKCON paper and send it to Veena, okay? To put it as a Veena article. Just not like in ISKCON study, no, just to make it a general study on the topic.
We can take the introduction.
Yeah, just go through it. My Krishna, my beloved Lord, you know, I was a communist. Before I joined Krishna consciousness, communist means you believe in the classless society. All equals. I could never have joined a spiritual movement where everybody is like powerfully discriminated against and put into different restricted orders. It would never have worked on me. I looked for a spiritual master who creates unity amongst man for the sake of mankind, stopping the exploitation of man, third world people, natives, animals. That is what I came from my heart's call. And I can only say, thanks God, I found it in Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and in the Uttama Adhikars. Because you meet some Kanishtas, and they are really troublemakers. And if you want yourself to be discouraged by that, it's your problem. A few days ago, I was in Ambika Kalna. Funny situation. Ambika Kalna, there's the old king's temple. The king's temple had a few restrictions, and one of the restrictions the king put, only a Brahmin-born person can go inside the altar. And when he gave the donation of that temple to Bhakti Pramod Maharaj, he said, this rule must be kept. So Srila Puri Maharaj, he asked some of his family who were all Brahmanas if they could do the puja, so he wouldn't have any problem with the rules of the king, no? And so he went and he did. Thing never took off because those were more smartic. So when I wanted to go in the temple to take a nice picture of the deities, because a beautiful deities there, I said, sorry, you cannot go in. You're not born in Brahmin family. Just happened to me a few days ago. And I just wanted to take a picture to glorify their deities, you know. I wasn't going to do the puja and anything, you know. So these smartic things, this Kanishta business stuff, it is there. You find it here and there. Don't be discouraged by it. It's not the lineage of our acharyas. So this has been clearly emphasized and clearly shown. I think it's beyond the doubt. And there's more quotation. It's not all the quotation. There's many more quotation, but I think it's quite enough. Quite enough not to create more steer. No, not more steer, to take more space. So, in other words, I'm very happy to get this document this morning, and I consider this topic of great importance because we all have the same mentality of discriminating. Because we are all inside of our conditional thinking a little bit male chauvinistic, a little bit of what you call this false Purusha conception, this male vanity. We all have a little bit of racism inside. We all have a little bit of discriminating against the poor. We all have a little bit of discrimination in sexism inside. I tell you, there is discrimination. There is, what do you call it? I have a special saying for that. It's like, in Germany we call it Vetternwirtschaft. There in English it is like the boys' club. No, it's different. The boys' club. It means that people favor their own clan and discriminate against those who are not part of their clan.
Party spirit.
That's in the spirit. Yeah, that's another feature of it. In Spanish, how do we call it?
Mafia.
Yeah, that's a common way. Cuando dentro la familia se comienzan familia, amistad, se hacen unas tratos preferenciales a mis compinches. La rosca. Exactamente, ahí se llama la rosca. All this nonsense, stupid discrimination and injustices. They'll all be kicked out by karma eventually. The more you're inside of anything wrong like this, The Vedas say you go to hell. Why? You end up in the same type of discriminated situation. I'm very proud, by my Guru's mercy, that I've been able to come into this world by Gauranga Mahaprabhu's grace. Somehow or other, we are in this position. Somehow or other, we hold the seat of sitting on the Vyasa-san. It's not because we are qualified for that, but somebody had to sit on it. And others are sitting on it for the service of humanity. And those who sit on it for the sense of exploitation, they'll fall off. It's not an easy seat to sit on. You'll fall off easily. But to sit on it for the sake of the true dissemination of the spirituality of Prabhupada, it is a great honor to sit on it in the connection with all these great spiritual authorities or acharyas. Well, I'd say Lord Chaitanya ki jai, Nityananda ki jai, and Prabhupada ki jai. They're outstanding in that field. They have given something. Rarely you will find it somewhere else. Rarely. Really, rarely. Any questions? Yes, my dear.
Gurudev, I would like to ask about the point you mentioned, not giving bad feelings based on Shastra.
What?
Not giving bad feelings to others based on Shastra.
You can't. The Shastras don't give bad feelings to others, but immature, stupid quotations out of context presentations, that can give bad feelings to others. Shastras are not giving bad feelings to others, they're just giving knowledge, spiritual understanding.
And I have an example. You mentioned many times that it's very important to have our daily sandwich, morning class, evening class. How we can transport this message to our friends and God brothers and God sisters who live in the same building or in the same buildings next to the temple, when they don't come to the class and when they don't come to the morning or evening program. How it's possible to bring it in a style then it's not hurting them, but also giving a little bit of motivation to try to follow this daily sandwich program.
Yeah, you are taking a question into a Istagostiish purpose. So if anybody is here, is in the same building and is not coming at least to one class in the morning, one class in the day, he's not very good candidate for living with devotees. Those who don't practice the sadhana at all, those who are not cautious about it, they don't belong there. They should live their private life somewhere else. Because when you are in this devotional community, you have to at least listen to one class a day, unless there's some service emergency which your guru tells you can't. Otherwise, it is a great negligence and it will bring some offense. But the way you stress it and put it, that's up to you as a leadership, as a senior man, how to get it, how to reach the home run. Means get the point across. I mean, we are not here to destroy anybody. We are here to uplift people. But again, what I say, it's a fact. If you don't practice anything of the sadhana and all that, if that's not interesting to you, then be a friend from outside and don't contaminate and bring down the standards inside of a community.
It's not only the standard, it's the motivation.
Whatever it may be. Ashrams are wonderful, but ashrams can also be places where people hide out from the reality of life. And if that is so, they will not last very long. If the ashram is a shelter-giving place for people who want to get out of the illusion and the ignorance, then the ashram is the perfect place. If they want to make the ashram the place of illusion and ignorance, then we have to see what Krishna will do about it. So, listen to the spiritual warning and get up in the morning. Even rhymes, no?